President Trump is touting what could be a financial windfall for the United States, but at whose expense? Is it American consumers? It's based on Trump's new tariff rates for various countries. The Congressional Budget Office updated its projections and now estimates that Trump's tariffs could reduce the U.S. deficit by a whopping $4 trillion over the next 10 years.
President Trump is touting his tariffs as a massive win for America. The Congressional Budget Office even claims they could slash the U.S. deficit by $4 trillion over the next decade. Sounds great, right? But here's the real question. Who's actually paying for all of this?
So let's bring in Justin Wolfers. He's a professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. So first of all, what do you think are the chances that the tariffs will actually last through 2035, which the CBO is basing its estimates on?
Close to no chance, and that's one of the biggest problems, which is the whole idea of tariffs is you provide an incentive for people to set up shop, but the tariffs are going to change before the shop gets set up. And as a result, I'm not sure we're going to get much action out of this.
So then the big question about this $4 trillion is, where is this $4 trillion coming from? Is it coming from foreign governments? Is it coming from foreign companies? For months here on The Lead, we've been talking to small business leaders about how the tariffs are affecting them. Most of them say that they are currently eating the tariffs, but eventually are going to have to pass on the cost to their consumers. So I wonder, in this projection, who pays this $4 trillion? Is it mostly American consumers?
Exactly. Economists aren't convinced these tariffs will even last long enough to deliver those so-called savings. And even if they did, the real issue is this isn't free money. It's not some magical windfall. It's a tax. And guess who ends up paying?
Yeah, Jack, I want to come back to something you said in The Lead. You said this windfall for the American budget. It's not a windfall, it's a tax. And when you charge people a tax, the government gets revenue. It's as simple as that. In this case, here's how it works. If Best Buy brings in a washing machine, say from Korea, that washing machine gets shipped to America and it sits in the port in customs, and it can't get out of customs until Best Buy writes a check for the tariff. So at the first level, Best Buy, an American company, is paying the tariff. But we economists like to look at it a little harder. Everything's connected to everything else. So there are some other things that could happen. Well, Samsung could decide what they want to do is keep their market share, which means they'd have to cut the price they're selling that washing machine at. But there's a price index called the Import Price Index, and it measures the price of our imports, not surprising. That has not fallen a penny.
So while Trump sells this as foreign companies footing the bill, the truth is, the cost trickles down right here to American businesses and eventually to everyday consumers like you and me.
I think he's exactly right that it would be crazy for there to be a rebate check. By the way, Jake, do you remember just a few months ago we were being told that there would be so many trillions of dollars saved by Doge, we'd all be getting rebate checks? And I went all over TV having arguments with people saying, how big would the rebate check be? And it turns out Doge never saved anything. In this case, the Republicans just passed a budget. The budget took an already existing budget deficit and made it worse. Let's not talk in trillions. What this is basically $400 billion per year over 10 years. That's the easy way to think about it. And basically, they've already spent that. They've spent that giving tax cuts to rich people. So what does this mean? It means overall what we've done is we've swapped one set of taxes for another. It used to be we had high income taxes on rich people. We've gotten rid of that. And to fill the budget hole, we're now putting tariffs on. Now, tariffs are paid by everyone. They're a sales tax, effectively. And so that means we've shifted taxes from the rich to the working and middle class because all of us buy imported stuff and therefore all of us are paying these tariffs.
And that's the kicker. Tariffs end up being a tax on the middle class. Rich corporations and the wealthy get tax cuts, while working Americans pay more for everyday goods. That's not winning. That's redistribution, just in the opposite direction.
CEO Jeremy Landy joins me now. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. So your business relies on an imported product that you can only get from Italy. How have the tariffs changed things for you?
Yeah. Hi, Jake. Thanks for having me on. The tariffs have impacted us in a couple of different ways. The first one is just being able to figure out how to navigate them. What most people don't understand is there's actually two tariffs on our products. The first one's just the standard 15% EU tariff, but then we have a second tariff, which is the steel tariff, which is 50% of the cost of the steel. So to give some perspective, in June, I had 2 ocean containers come in and they were taxed at over 80%. And so we paid our 80% tariff on these ocean containers that came in, and later found out that that isn't exactly what the situation is. Working with our customs brokers, they're not even exactly sure what the procedures are. So not only does it tie up cash, it's hard to plan, and it constantly has us rethinking inventory levels.
80% tax or tariff is a lot. How are you weathering the costs? Do you have to raise prices?
So it looks as if, because the landscape is always changing, that we're not going to have an 80% tariff at this point in time. But honestly, we're not exactly sure where it's going to land. But yeah, we've had to raise prices. August 1st was our first price increase in years, and it's something that we absolutely don't take lightly. We absorbed the cost for as long as we could, and we've even absorbed some of the cost to not pass it all on to the customer. But August 1st, we did have a 10% increase in prices. So hopefully we don't have to have another one.
Small businesses are feeling the squeeze too. Companies that rely on imports, like Jeremy's pizza oven business, are being hit hard. And when they raise prices just to survive, it's the consumer who pays the difference.
There's this brand new analysis that President Trump is touting. It's from the Congressional Budget Office, and it projects that Trump's tariffs over the course of 10 years are going to reduce the federal deficit by more than $4 trillion over the next decade, or about $400 billion a year. I assume that your perspective is that the people paying for that are you and your customers.
Yeah, it's going to be the tariff burden comes on to us, and it's a matter of how much of that we want to pass on to our customers. We're a relatively small business, and we already have the absolute best of terms with Fontana Forni, and there's really not much to be done on their end either. So we're forced to raise prices in order to keep the quality and keep the highest level product we can out there.
If President Trump were watching right now, what would you want to say to him about the tariffs?
Yeah, it's just that, sure, we understand the tariffs, but really there needs to be transparency. There needs to be predictability. The sudden changes really disrupt our business. And if there was just clear guidance, it would really, really help us out.
And you at home, if you want one of these beautiful pizza ovens, you can shop for Fontana Forni. That's Forni USA. Fontana Forni USA pizza ovens. You can find them online. Jeremy Landy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
So let's be clear. Trump's tariffs aren't a $4 trillion gift to America. They're a massive hidden tax on American families and small businesses. At the end of the day, it's not foreign governments paying the bill. It's us,